Hey everyone, so some small good news. Adobe has pushed out an update. You notice here, it's going to be version 27.1.0, okay, and that's really good news. What does that mean? That means that they fixed their known bug that said that, if you have the people selection function, all right, which is here, select people, it's kind of an AI thing where it thinks about it. If you have that into an action, like scripted into an action, it's going to hang Photoshop. And everybody was noticing it and all the forums were blowing up. And that's fine. That's the whole thing where, it selects body parts and clothing and hair and things of that nature. And that affected MVP products because my actions, at least a few sets, leverage body parts or select people very, very readily. And some are kind of useless without it. So I told everybody, hey, go back to version, Photoshop 2025 or version 26.x. And a lot of people were doing that. But now we're good to go. I want to mention a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and run, right now I'm going to show Mask Logic. We're going to go ahead and run the MVP Portrait Mask Bank. All right. And just as a reminder, if you're new to Mask Logic, when it goes through this process, make sure that you just keep hitting continue every time, because what it's letting you know in Photoshop's little way is that, hey, certain things weren't found, like a hat or whatever, and that's okay. What happens is that those channels don't get created, but you just have to hit continue every time. Now, while this runs, I'll tell you, what I noticed was in 2026 now, or version 27.1, which I admit, having 25 be version 26 and 26 be version 27. I've gotten used to it, but it's still kind of strange. Anyway, what I will say is that they seem to have changed it. Like, for example, this computing selection thing here, I didn't used to see that on my machine. I have a slightly older machine. I know it's like a 5, almost 6-year-old MacBook Pro. It's not the latest and greatest, but I didn't used to see that before. And I was noticing that even though Mask Logic on a high-res portrait, at least for me, was running about a minute, maybe 75 seconds at the most to get everything set up, I noticed that now it's a little bit faster. Not while I'm recording, because I'm, pushing the computer a little bit here to record. So it's a little bit slower. But I was noticing that, hey, maybe I was getting like 45 seconds to create this mask bank. Also, on top of that, in the channels, you didn't used to see them showing up like this. That was not a thing in 2026 or version 2025. So I thought that was, version 26. Yes, 2025 version 26. See, I got myself confused. And so watching them be built. Okay, here's an example, guys. As I've said in the original Mask Logic videos, if it says this, don't hit stop, hit continue. That just means that, hey, there was no selection, so that part is not going to get a channel created for it. All right, so it's done. Now, I was talking through it, like I said, probably about 90 seconds, but I've noticed it's a little bit faster, which is kind of cool. But I also noticed something else. My job in creating these tools is to really notice details. And I did some testing throughout the morning since I got this announcement on the forums. And I've noticed, and I feel like the masks are better. I don't think they just pushed out a fix for the known issue. I think the masks are better. These last 4 are masks that I create, quote unquote, using my usual methods. But these AI masks are seemingly better and they're more accurate. I'm very, very excited about that. So figure out to give you an opportunity here just to check real quick, to show you real quick. Once these channel banks are made, then we can use our helper actions in Mask Logic and do all kinds of things. Simple, like you hit subject and you have the subject selected, done. Deselect that with Command D. Got the skin, it's done immediately. So you build the actions, build the channels up front, and then you can just call them immediately with the helper actions as opposed to rerunning these things, right? Rerunning the AI over and over. Now, the caveat, of course, is that if you use this earlier in your edit, then you make some changes via Liquify, especially Liquify, then you probably need to delete all your channels and run them again. So that's another thing too, actually, that I noticed. If it could do it before, it didn't work for me, but now if you want to delete a channel, let's say your eyes mask for some reason, you can right click it and you get duplicate and delete. Now, I didn't notice that before, or it's new, so that's kind of cool. Maybe it's been around forever and I just never noticed, regardless. But real quick, just before we go, we'll mention that Mask Logic has these cool ways of doing intersections, so like if you want to do like the hair, but you want the midtones of the hair, well, you hit hair midtones. It calculates what that is, which is the hair mask intersected with midtones, and now you got the hair midtones, right? So I always use curves as a demo, but you can use any adjustment layer, really. And there you go. Actually, you don't have to just use any adjustment layer. I want to make that clear. Maybe it's a good time to show you that. You can use anything. So for example, if I had a raster layer, I don't know why, just a pixel layer, and let's say I had some color. This is not a completely uncommon thing to do, okay? But let's say I had some orange, and I'm going to color the hair, but I want that on color blend mode, hue, color. Let's go to color so we can have the saturation. So I've got a mess, obviously, right? But then I can come here and go, oh, okay, you know what? I want the hair shadows. Boom. And then on that layer, hit my mask. And there you go. I've masked out the hair shadows with my orange painting on color blend mode. And now I've done a little bit of a color toning to it. So you see, it can literally be anything that you can apply this to. And when I mean anything, let me show you one more thing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do a curves. I'm going to go ahead and do a color balance. Why not? And then we'll throw in the mix. We'll throw in, boom. How about selective color? Cool. All right, so we're going to put all that there. There it is. It's cool. We have all kinds of things happening. So we make some changes. Again, let's say we're focusing on the hair, right? We want to do some changes to the hair. And for whatever reason, this is what we're doing. We're feeling good about it. We think, yeah, this is what we want, et cetera, et cetera. So you have all of this. You can take all your adjustment layers, group them. Now you have a folder, right? Okay, sorry about that. I had a recording burp, but I'm back. So what I want to show you is if you have a group of anything, whether it's adjustment layers or whatever, you can add a mask to it. However, the way the calculations work is you don't want to be on the actual folder. I know it's strange, but you don't want to be on the actual folder. So click on any other layer or the background layer, and then you can run, like, for example, hair midtones. You hit that. Now you have a selection. Then you can come back up to the folder and hit mask, and now you've masked out the entire folder of things using the midtones of the hair. Now, I'm not saying that's a phenomenal result, but all things considered, as fast as I'm working here and just kind of improvising along with a weird recording error, you can see how fast this works. So that's what it's about. You create this channel bank of all kinds of masks, and you can do things with them. You can create intersections. Now, we have videos about that that show you how these work, but we're always going to make more, especially shorter ones like this one, because people ask questions. But I want to let everyone know that, again, Photoshop has pushed out, or Adobe has pushed out a new version of Photoshop 27.1.0, and it has solved this people selection buried in an action bug. So because of that, we can now use our actions freely, or MVP actions freely, on version 26 or 2026 or version 27.1. I know I can get this clear. I know. But if you have any questions, like I said, drop me a comment below.